Good evening, sir. Good evening, ma. Good evening, sirs.
Evening, Doc.
How's your day been, sir?
Very fine, thank you, ma'am. And yours?
Oh, fine. We thank God.
Right.
Okay, so this is our last class. So let's see, let's see how far we can go with today's class. We also want to treat the tutorial questions again.
Okay.
Okay, so because of the network, currently using my phone, so I won't be able to share the slide. It has been, the network has been fluctuating for some days. I can't really say, but the slides are all shared. The document, the presentation slide are all on the platform. So we can use that to understand, to follow me with the explanation. Okay, last class yes, sir. Last class we looked at segmentation, and we looked at segmentation from 3 different perspectives, which is the macro segmentation, micro segmentation, and hybrid segmentation. But I rushed the micro, so I will just take the micro again. But let me just give a brief of what macro is all about again. So I said macro segmentation here is looking at, before I talk about macro, let me talk about segmentation. When we say market segmentation or the word segmentation, so segmentation here is referring to grouping, people or grouping things together, of grouping things, grouping people. It can be companies, it can be countries. You're grouping countries, people, there is individuals or things or products, not products. So you're grouping things, companies, individuals together that have similar characteristics in terms of needs, wants, or demand. So you're grouping things together, you're grouping people together, you're grouping companies together that have similar characteristics. So that is what segmentation is all about. So now we are looking at it from a macro perspective. You are looking at it from a company or from a country perspective, to mean that you are grouping countries together that have similar demands for that product, similar values, similar taste for that product. So that is what macro segmentation is all about. So you are grouping countries together. So you're looking at it from a country-based perspective. So there are certain countries that they have similar political agenda, they have similar economic environment. So it's very easy to penetrate into them because they, flow together in terms of economic, in terms of the political rules and regulation. They flow together, and in terms of like their geographical location, how their location is being, the positioning of their location is, it favors both countries or the 3 or more together. So it's better to group them together so that one can sell the product. So one can look at it from a country-based perspective. So you are grouping some African countries together because they are close and they have similar characteristics. And there are some African-based countries that, despite the fact they are close, they don't have similar characteristics. So it's very important that one will have to understand, countries that are being grouped together in terms of certain characteristics. So segmentation here is talking about grouping countries together with similar characteristics. So that is what segmentation is all about. Even if you're looking at USA, it's quite broad, but then it's not all the states that have similar characteristics. They don't have similar cultural beliefs. even similar demands, tastes, and wants. So it's very important that we look at it from a country-based perspective. The other one is called micro segmentation. So micro, you're looking at it from an individual perspective. We're looking at it from individual perspective. So in as much as it's still based on the behavior, demographic, geographic, that is location, but you're looking at it from an individual perspective. So meaning that where these people are living, so that is the geographic location. So where are these people living? Previously when I talked about macro, we talked about where the countries are situated. Where are they? Which part of the continent are they located? But this time around, we're looking at micro segmentation in terms of the individual. Where are these people staying? Where are they living? Where are they situated? Where are they located? Where can I reach out to them? It can be in terms of regions, it can be in terms of cities, it can be in terms of climate zones. There are some people that you have to categorize them based on the zones that the climate zones don't favor this category of people living here, and the climate zone favor this category of people living there. So sometimes it can be based on zones, and that is because of the kind of product that you're offering. So the product is focused more on zones than they focus more on zones than just location. So that is for geography. So you can look at it in terms of their region, their territories, their cities, and zones, climate zones, can be based on climate zones for you to identify your target market, or your target customers, or where they are actually located. The other one is called the demographic segmentation. Demographic segmentation is looking at from the word demographic, you want to understand their profile. You want to understand who they are in terms of the age, in terms of the gender, in terms of the income, in terms of the education, in terms of the family size. So those are like the yardstick to use to understand the demographic aspect of segmentation. So meaning that you are grouping customers of similar age group together. Just as we are familiar with the word Gen Z, so people of this particular age group, they belong to Gen Zs and they have similar characteristics. So that is what segmentation is all about. You are grouping them together. You are grouping all the females together, irrespective of their structure in life. You are grouping all the males together. You are grouping all the low-income earners, or you are grouping those that belong to, to the agricultural sector, the artisans. You are grouping them together. Then those that are working, you are grouping them together of different category of certain kind of job. And you are grouping those within the service sector, or those that are doing professional, that are providing professional services. You are grouping them together. So that is what segmentation is all about. And from the micro perspective, you're looking at it from an individual perspective. So the other one, aside geographic and demographic, is also called the psychographic segmentation. We also have psychographic segmentation. And when you talk about psychographic segmentation, you're talking about the lifestyles of the people, you're talking about the attitude of the people, you're referring to the personality of the people. There are some people that they like this lavish lifestyle, while some like this conservative lifestyle. There are some that like the traditional, because conservative is similar to traditional. There are some that they like this exorbitant or exclusive lifestyle. There are some that like this classic lifestyle. So their lifestyles varies, the kind of life that they want to live. So this from an individual perspective varies. So it varies. So that will determine how to group this kind of people together. So that's why I see that. Let me use body lotion for example. You see extra dry skin. You see for normal skin, product for normal skin, product for dry skin, product for extra dry skin. So that is kind of personality, like their skin, the nature of their skin requires them to go extra. So that is where psychography is all about. Then attitude, as I've previously mentioned, they have various attitude towards work, towards time, towards money, towards value. Some people have there are different types of attitude that you come across, you meet. And so some people have certain attitude towards money, have attitudes towards time, towards work. So sometimes understanding all these personalities of psychography goes a long way to understand who the customers are and how to appeal them in terms of creating an advert that is appealing to their site. So that is where psychography comes in. And there are times that customers prefer products that speaks to their self-concept. It's as if they are putting that product is talking about them. That product that speaks towards their ego, towards product that speaks towards themselves, towards their self. So that is what psychographic segmentation is all about. Then the other one is behavioral segmentation. When you talk about behavioral segmentation, we're talking about the behavior of people. People don't buy product for buying sake. They buy product because of the benefits they will derive from that product. So what benefits will this particular customer derive when they purchase a product? So that is where behavioral lifestyle comes in, behavioral segmentation. So meaning that you're grooming people because of benefit they will derive. You're grooming people based on the frequency of use of that product. Meaning that this person uses product all the time. This person uses this product occasionally. This person uses the product, this one does not even use the product or sometimes, just use it sometimes. Okay, that is where occasionally comes in. Which other word do I use? All the time, sometimes, occasionally, once in a while. So that is for frequent. That is part of behavior. There are some that are light users, they are heavy users of certain products, that are medium users, they are just average, they are not really light or heavy. So it's very important to understand the behavior, how they use a product, how they purchase a product, the benefits, whether that those are that generally after benefit. And most consumers are always after benefit of the product, and that leads to loyalty, how loyal they will be with that organization. So that is just what the micro segmentation is all about. Then the third one is what I call the hybrid segmentation. So hybrid, you're looking at the combination of the macro and micro segmentation. So it's looking at the combination of both micro and macro segmentation. And when you talk about the hybrid, hybrid here is looking at like a universal customer. You're looking at irrespective of the country, irrespective of the location, geographical location, irrespective of the political environment, irrespective of the geographical environment, irrespective of the political factors that might affect that particular environment, they just see the customer as one. So meaning that there is something that all of them will agree for. So meaning that there's something that will be similar to the same customers irrespective of where they are. So that is hybrid. So most times hybrid will look at the disadvantage from the macro and micro and look at the advantage aspect and take it as one. So they will look at what it picks from macro, it picks from micro and merge it to become one. So hybrid is just a combination of both the micro and macro to become one. So another word to understand my hybrid is universal. So there are certain products that are universal in nature, irrespective of where they are. The one that I can say that is universal is a consumer product, and it is Coca-Cola. Anybody can take Coca-Cola. Yes, I know people are after the sugar content and the rest, but it's not as if they said you should drink the whole Coke, but everybody can drink Coca-Cola. That's what I mean. Everybody can take Coca-Cola. Everybody can drink Coca-Cola. So that is like a universal product that goes for everybody, irrespective of the age category, aside the newborn baby, because a 2-year-old is drinking Coca-Cola, even 1 year plus. Then they drink Coca-Cola at times. It depends on the parent. So that is just what hybrid is all about. Okay, so now the last topic that we ought to treat is export marketing. So we've looked at export at the earlier part of the class, but I'll just go straight to differentiate between domestic marketing and export marketing. So in as much as we are very much familiar with with export marketing, I'll talk about, export marketing is when you are taking the product to another country. As far that product is going to another country, that organization is engaging what you call exporting. Organization is engaging what you call exporting. For domestic marketing, you're saying that the product is within the boundary of a particular country, while export is talking about a outside a country. Domestic is talking about within the boundary of a country. So meaning that the product is sold within a country, while export, the product is sold outside a country. So another one is that for domestic marketing, we're trying to look at the differences between domestic and export. For domestic marketing, the currency within that state within the states or within the cities, they are similar, they are uniform. So they have uniform currency system. So the same naira that is being spent in Lagos is same naira that is being spent in Port Harcourt, is same naira that is being spent in Kaduna, same naira that is being spent in Abuja, because it's a domestic market. But when you are going outside Nigeria, you cannot use that same naira to sell or to exchange to engage in a form of exchange. Is a different currency. So export marketing currency system is different, and it's totally different. And another aspect is that apart from the currency system, the trade restrictions, the distance, and the trade practices differs. The trade practices within Nigeria, at least to an extent, is similar, but when you go outside, it is different. The restriction is different. We already know the kind of restriction that they can bring up within the custom border, but over there you cannot easily determine, and even if you determine, there's nothing one can do. It's not say there's something one can do within a country, but the restriction cannot be compared to the restriction within the own country. There's still a way one can navigate around by going to other states and the rest. But the restriction here is saying that for export marketing, saying that you cannot even enter that country. You cannot even enter that country. So that is for export marketing. Another one is that domestic marketing deals with lot of intermediaries. There are lots of intermediaries involved, and the kind of intermediaries differs from that of export marketing. The kind of intermediaries you see in domestic marketing is not the same, or it's not exactly the same intermediaries in export marketing. What do I mean by that? In domestic marketing, you see more of wholesalers, retailers, agents or distributors. But in export marketing, you see more of merchant exporters. You hear more of trading houses. You hear more of export houses. You hear more of exporters, marketing organizations. That is what you hear more. So the kind of agencies involved in domestic marketing is not the same agency that will be involved in export marketing. So that is another difference between exports and domestic marketing. So there are a lot of differences. I'm sure based on what I've mentioned, there are lots that coming to you in terms of the differences between export and import marketing. So now let's look at another topic. So we now have different types of export marketing organizations. So exporting or export marketing now, they have different organizations, different agencies, different or let me say marketing organizations within the export marketing. So what do we mean by that? So there's a market organization called the manufacturer exporter. The manufacturer exporter. I don't know if Russia, I don't know because we are familiar with it. When you say the manufacturer exporter. So yeah, you're talking about the company's exporter itself. So meaning that the company is the one that exports the product to the country by itself. So they are the ones in charge of the exporting of the goods to the foreign country. So that is what manufacturer exporter is talking about. So yeah, the manufacturer exporter here is involved in direct exporting. That is the direct exporter. So it's a company itself that is manufacturing the product, that is taking the product overseas. So that is what we call manufacturer exporter. Then there's another one called merchant exporter or merchant exporter. So we have the manufacturer exporter, we have the merchant exporter. So those ones are the agents that helps to sell the product to the foreign country. So they do not manufacture the product by themselves, but they arrange on how the product can be sold to the foreign country. So that is what we call merchant exporter. They are the ones that are involved in the selling of product to the overseas countries or to other countries. So that is exports. That is what we call merchant exporter. So there's another type of export marketing organization called the canalizing agencies. Canalizing agency. That's another type of export marketing organizations. It's called canalizing agencies. So what is canalizing agency all about? So these people here, they are concerned with the production, distribution, and marketing of goods and services. So these canalizing agencies are like they are the ones, or they are the agencies that are being designated by the government, where import and export of product only goes through them. So it's through this category, or should I say, what is this word? There's the general word they use. Is this through these agents appointed by the government that one can use to engage in importation and exportation of certain products. So canalizing agencies are the ones organized or designated by the government to engage in importation and exportation of products. So we call that category canalizing agencies. There might be another word, but the one I'm familiar with is called canalizing agencies, the ones that are designated by the government to them to import or export the product. Then another category or export market organization is called export houses. So we have export houses. So these export houses, they are like companies. They are companies that help in the export of goods and services to other countries. So what these people are just all about, they are just more of shipping the goods. They are not involved in the marketing aspect of it. They just assist, they just act as intermediary to move the goods to those countries. So they are like intermediaries or like the agents. No, I won't use the word agent, but they act as intermediaries between the international buyer and domestic market. So they are just responsible for the shipping and logistic of goods. So some can use the word shipping house, all these shipping companies, logistic companies that will just move those products to the foreign market, and how it's being sold in the US is up to the marketers over there. So they're just more of the shipping and logistics of goods, although other taxes are involved, but they just help to just move the goods and services to the foreign country. Then we also have what we call the export consortium. So this export consortium is another marketing organization whereby manufacturers come together, especially those in small sectors or small business owners. They come together to organize themselves into a cooperative organization. So they're like cooperative organizations that they come together, they compile their goods together and send it to the foreign country as one. Then they can disband later when the goods get there, but they send the product together as one to majorly to reduce the logistic costs, shipping costs, and certain costs, custom duty costs, and others that might be attributed to exportation of goods and services. So that is what export consulting is all about. And not only because of the cost, it is also because of the quantity attributed to the product. So one can have a particular small business owner might just have maybe 5 kg, for example, 5 kg might be large to them. Another can have like maybe 10 kg, 20 kg, and in total they can form 50 kg. If 50 kg is the total worth that the company wants from the country, not necessarily from the organization or from the company itself. It can be from the country, and it can also be from the organization itself. So they can just form a consortium. They can come together as a cooperative to send the goods over there. So that is what export consortium is all about. Then we now have trading house. So trading house here are also companies that are similar to export house. So we have the export house. We also have trading house. So trading house, so they are also into exportation and importation of goods and services that are produced or provided by other organizations. But the difference here is that for trading house, they do not take title of the products. They do not take title of the product. So they are not responsible for the marketing. They are not responsible for the finance. But export house is responsible for the marketing. They are responsible for the promotion. They are responsible for the packaging of the product. But trading house are not responsible. So they operate the same way. But the only difference here is that trading house are not responsible for the end-to-end services. But export house, to an extent, they are responsible for the end-to-end services, that for the promotion or the packaging of that product. So that is the major difference between export and trading house. And another one is that export house major focus is just exportation. They are not into importation. Their major focus is exportation. While trading house can still do export and importation of goods, but export house is just majorly exportation of the product, and they can help to promote that product. They can help with the packaging of the product. They can help with the documentation of the product. So that is where you see certain company acting as the marketing organization on behalf of that expatriate or on behalf of that country or that company. You see a lot over there on the package. You see manufactured by, marketed by. That is where export house comes in. Manufactured, the owner of the product is different from the person selling the product. So that is where export house comes in. So that is just the difference between export house and trading house. Another thing is that export house tend to take responsibility of that product. They take responsibility of the product and services that are being rendered or exported, majorly as goods that are being exported. They take responsibility of that. Although trading also are responsible, they also take responsibility of the product. They do take responsibility of the product that they export. But compared to export house, they surely do that. But I'm not saying trading house don't do that. They also are responsible for the products that they export and products that they import. So that is just the major between export and trading house. But export house majorly focus on exportation of goods. Trading house can do both. So that's why trading house tend to have larger range of products, because they are involved in importation also. But trading house is involved in exportation only. So that is when between exportation and the trading house and export house. Okay. So we'll stop here. So let's just go through the tutorial questions again. I don't know if you have any questions to ask based on what I've said, especially the export marketing organizations. I'm coming. Let me open the tutorial question. Okay, so in tutorial question, there's a mini case study, and that's what I gave us as assignment. Is in just slide 1, presentation slide, or week 1, I mean. presentation slide for week 1, you see it there. That is for the case study. So I believe we are very, very much familiar with it. So here is saying that based on the case study, on the above case study, which form of exporting would you advise NANI to adopt to stay competitive in the market environment? Why? Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of exporting. And I know we've really gone to a great length to look at exporting, especially the different types of export market strategies. So if you look at the main lecture notes, and there's some people that they don't really need lecture notes to explain advantages and disadvantages. So your own discussion on what the advantages are and disadvantages are quite okay. But don't forget that when we talk about this course, it's not just a line, it's not just 2 lines. So you are meant to and I'm not saying have a page because you will not end up finishing the exam or writing, answering all the questions. Do you get? So to those that they might know they don't like writing, but when you see the word discuss, when you see the word explain, you are meant to go further than writing a statement. And sometimes examples tends to be part of your discussion. When you're making a discussion, examples tend to come with it to to buttress what you're saying, but not necessarily for advantages and disadvantages. Examples tend to come with it when you see the word discuss. But since you're saying advantages and disadvantages, it's just no proper explanation of your points. You're trying to buttress your points. So that is where the advantages and disadvantages comes in. So the next question here is saying international marketing is of high interest to many agribusiness firms and will be of great importance in the future. Discuss the opportunities and challenges that they face. So the opportunities that agribusiness tend to face and is important in the future, and also the challenges that agribusiness firms tend to face. So that is like chapter 2. Down one to question 2. Down 2, you can also discuss the great opportunities. I know there are a lot even beyond what I have mentioned. So you are free to bring out your own point as far as it's within the context. You are free to bring out your own point and also free to bring out your own challenges as far as they are within the context. So that is it. Then for question 3, every organization in the world today, either large, small, local, or international, is profoundly affected by its organizational environment. Use any country of your choice to discuss 3 external, internal environment. We've also looked at that. So here is saying that you just mention 3 external, international environment, I mean. So out of the numbers that we have, just mention 3 using a country. So if you want to talk about the political environment, for example, refer to a country. You can use a country, Nigeria, to explain the political environment. You can use a country, Zimbabwe, South Africa, Ghana, use a country. So that country you are using to explain the political is the same country you are using to explain the economic. The same country you are using to explain the technological environment. The same country you are using to explain the social cultural environment. Same country you are using to explain the legal environment, and the same country you are using to explain the ecological environment. So it's that same country. So you are not using different countries to explain the 3. No. So if I mean any country, pick a country of your choice and use it to explain the international environment, any 3 external international environment. So that is what question 3 is referring to. So 4 is saying discuss the concept of international marketing, multinational marketing, global marketing, export marketing, and export market strategy. discuss the principal differences between domestic marketing and export marketing. So we just talked about, I just mentioned that now, looking at the differences between a domestic market and an export market. So there are key differences. And in this aspect, I mentioned, I said mention the advantages and disadvantages. Mention minimum 5. Your minimum is 5. Sorry, your maximum is 5. If you want to mention 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, yeah, it's okay, but there's no additional point to that. But if you give lesser than 5, then that means you want to give me your points, don't give me your score, don't give me your mark. So minimum 5, that is like standard generally. It's only those that want to go overboard in case a point did not prove that point that the person is trying to bring out, with the expectation that the marker will look at another point and ignore that one. Aside that kind of situation that people tend to do in examination, or to me, minimum 5. Some people might want to go above 5, but minimum 5. That is the standard generally. So here is saying that principal differences, maximum, I keep saying minimum, maximum 5. Maximum 5. It's okay, just mention 5 points, then you're good to go. So that is just it. Then 5 is saying, discuss any 3 market entry strategies pursued by a firm into a foreign market, excluding export. So any other market entry strategies, excluding exports, because export is reflecting in question 1. So you are not expected to mention exports again. So that is what the question is saying. And in the process of you measuring those strategies, discuss the advantages and disadvantages of those entry strategy. So that is what 5 is all about. So 6 here is saying a company through its own experience or that of other firms, competitors or otherwise, may decide that a particular entry mode is desirable for its products. In contrast, the same entry mode will not be used for their product due to various factors discussed. The various factors influencing the choice of entry mode. So you're saying that there are various reasons why a company will enter successfully, another country might not enter successfully, and they have the same product. So discuss the factors influencing choice of entry mode. We've also looked at that. We did a form of simulation that looked at high risk. What was that? We looked at high risk, we looked at income, and looked at, I think, high entry also. We looked at 3 factors with lots of countries to enter and the rest. So there are a lot of factors that can influence choice of entry mode. I'm sure we are very, very much familiar with that. So question 7 here is saying, segmentation is an important tool in international marketing, and there are various approaches to segment the market in international marketing. Discuss either the macro or micro approaches to segmentation. So I briefly explained that again, especially I touched on micro. So pick one. Either you focus on macro segmentation or you focus on micro segmentation. Pick one and discuss those approaches to market segmentation. So that is what the question is all about. So we'll stop at question 8. So question 8 here is saying, since the beginning of the 21st century, world agricultural markets have evolved significantly. Discuss the key findings on trade patterns in Africa. So this particular question, there is no yes or no answer. It's based on what is currently going on in Africa, your trade patterns that is currently going on in Africa. So to buttress these points, It's best when you don't generalize. I won't advise you generalize for those that, in case they see this question, they want to answer it. Don't generalize. Only if you are talking from a group perspective, like after you're talking from a particular um organization. So you're using after to categorize Africa. Yeah. But if you want to talk about trade patterns and you are using maybe rice as example, you're using grains as example, let it be country based. Let it be country based so that because trade patterns, we also look at it from country-based perspective or from a group. It can be maybe West Africa, South Africa, North Africa. So you can look at it from that perspective or country-based. You want to explain trade patterns. So for the tutorials, we'll just stop at 8. But for preparation for the exam, for the forthcoming exam, 6 questions will be brought out and be expected to answer only 4. So out of the 6, you'll be expected to answer only 4. So I don't know if you have any question to ask me based on what we've done so far. It can be today or previous class that you want to ask, not able to ask. But you can also send me a personal DM in case you don't want to ask in the group. So I don't know if you have any question to ask. Okay, ma. I'm with you, ma.
All right, good evening, ma, and good evening, class. Thank you very much for the lecture, ma. I just want to ask concerning the different lecture materials that you sent to her so far. We had a slide that is week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4, and then we have one that I think is a comprehensive one that is about 53 slides. We also have lecture notes. Ma, please, which one will you advise us to focus on more? Looking at our time and all those things, should we focus more on the slides or on the lecture notes that you share with us? Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma. I don't know how to answer your question, but I will try to answer the question though. So the slide is like a compressed version of the lecture notes. Lecture notes like an extensive version of the slide. So for those that want to go in depth to understand some points, like, talking about disadvantages and advantages, I just listed them in the slide and they were mentioned, like discussed in the class. But in the lecture notes, further explanation on those points were actually brought up. We actually explained. You see further explanation in the lecture note. It was quite extensive in the lecture note. So some might want to use both, some might just want to focus on the slide and develop their points, the explanation by themselves, because we're already in that field, so we're familiar with it. It's just the points that they need and they are good to go. So I would say it depends on you. Some might not want to read to that extent. They don't have that energy. That one is just to have the points and they'll build up. So you can build up your point as far it flows with your pointer, which is that indicator for what you're trying to say. You are good to go. So most times what I tell people is that what carries more weight is those pointers, that is indicators. For example, you're talking about, one of the advantages of exporting, for example, and you're talking about when I say pointer or indicators, one of it is multiple stream of income or increased income. That is pointer. The explanation on what increased income is all about is to you. I won't expect a standardized explanation. So some people just want that pointer or indicator and they are good to go. They can build up by themselves. They don't need the lecture notes for build up. Or those that they want to have an idea on how to build up, they might want to go to the lecture notes to Okay, the network threw me out. So I hope I was able to answer the question. Do we have any other question?
Doc, not really a question. Just wanted to ask, you were going through some questions, and I tried to check the lecture notes that I have, and it's not there. I don't know if that's a separate material.
Okay, which question is that?
So towards just the final session of the class, and you were going through a number of questions. I just want to know if there is a document that lists all the question, or it's based on individual topics. We'll find it in the slide.
Oh, individual topics, you'll find them in this slide. So
Okay.
for segmentation now, if you go through the slide of segmentation, you find it there. The same
Okay.
thing with export market strategies. The heading will say it all.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. So I don't know what happened to my network. I've been wanting to add timer to, I don't know. I've not really done a lot with my online tests. I don't know why the timer is not working, because the strength of the network so far has been quite weak. So I'll keep trying so that I can send us a test link. As I said, there's a test we're meant to have, but it's meant to be timed. It's meant to be timed. So the timer keep bouncing back. It's not, I'm unable to test run it as expected. So I want to say apologies for the delay for the test link, but I will surely send us the test link. So I don't know if you have any question, but in the absence of none, I want to say thank you very much for taking time out to attend the class so far. It's been a long journey. It has been quite an interesting class with everyone on board, and I wish everyone a successful exam.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you, Ma.
Have a great evening. Thank you, everyone.
You too, Ma.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am.
you.
Thank you, ma'am.